Hi and welcome to my channel. My name is Elliot and today I will be going through what I believe to be the best 10 movies released in the car crash that was 2020. Of course, 2020 being the year that it was, I didn't get to see all the films that I had initially hoped to see. Films like St. Maud, Relic, The Father, I didn't get to see any of these films. Still have no idea when I will be able to see them. We can only hope 2021 will be better. So bear that in mind that some of your likely choices might not be in this list. It is strictly based on my opinion and what I have seen. Here we go. Onward was a family film by Disney Pixar released earlier in the year. In a magical, mystical setting, two brothers find a spell that can bring back their deceased father and allow them to spend a limited amount of time with him while the spell still lasts. You could look at this film and just write it off as another trashy, kids, throwaway, kill the time sort of movie. And on some level it is, but there's a lot of imagination, a lot of fun, deep thought behind the jokes and the world that they are building, and a good message at the end. The King of Staten Island was an interesting one for me because I'm not Pete Davidson's biggest fan in the past. It's nothing personal, I just don't find the guy that funny. But this film I really connected with. I think anyone who has ever second guessed themselves, doubted themselves, given up a little bit on themselves will find something they can relate to in this movie. It's heartfelt, it's sweet. Bill Burr was unbelievably funny in this film. He's had such a good year with this and The Mandalorian. I really want to watch this film again, actually. It's not one of those films that you would buckle in and just put on at any time and get on with housework. It's something that needs your full attention. It asks simple but effective questions just about life, and I really enjoyed it. Bad Education told the true story of a very successful high school in America who essentially cooked the books and were profiteering off their own schemes. This really happened. I don't know how accurately the film takes it, but I thoroughly enjoyed their portrayal of it. Alison Janney and Hugh Jackman have a chemistry in this film that I just never would have considered those two would have. They were great. They should definitely work together again in another platform. What I really liked about Bad Education is it really did show the real side of people. You can be as prim and proper and well dressed and have everything in order, but deep down you can be a monster. And sometimes not even the case of being a monster, but when your back's up against the wall, you will turn on each other. It's very true of human nature to keep yourself alive, and I thought that was by far the most interesting aspect of the movie. This version of The Invisible Man is a modern take on an old story and given new light and a new path to go down rather than the original, which still holds up. I checked it out prior to watching this, and they're both really good films. I think I prefer the original ever so slightly, but it actually made me appreciate how much effort went into this modern remake. As you can probably already imagine, Elizabeth Moss is fantastic in this film. It's hard to find a film she's not fantastic in. She really is a great performer. I am very quickly becoming a huge fan of Lee Whannell as a director. You might know him from the Insidious series as Specs. He's also been in Saw. He has a great understanding for horror, tension, suspense, all of those good things. And I like his camera work as well. I think back to his film Upgrade and how the camera would always go with the actor despite his crazy martial artist movements. I think this guy could be one to watch. The Hunt probably proves the biggest surprise for me this year, as the trailers and the promotional stuff, it really looked a bit cheap and tacky. They clearly had a plan when they were making this movie to sell it to the audiences as raunchy and disgusting and disturbing and the worst thing ever since whatever. And it did work because people were curious to see it, but then a lot of people were disappointed because, of course, it wasn't any of those things. I saw this movie strictly satirically. It knew exactly what it was doing. It knew it was typecasting typical people that you would see in your everyday life, the snobby, the ditzy blonde, and I thought it was clever the way they handled it. It wasn't too on the nose with some of their references. There's obvious homages to things like the Hunger Games and the Purge, but it tries to keep it more about the social aspect of it all. And I thought they nailed it. I thought they hit the landing quite well. Escape from Pretoria tells the true story of two activists who try to break out of jail in apartheid South Africa. It's very reminiscent of films such as Escape from Alcatraz and even The Shawshank Redemption, just without the magical aspects of it. And yet somehow the film managed to stay fresh and interesting the whole way throughout. It kept my attention from start to finish. It has a very simple but effective use of tension building throughout the whole film. Things like creaking doors that people are hiding behind, or footsteps coming nearer when they're right in the middle of undoing a lock that they shouldn't be undoing. It's really simple but so effective throughout, with some great camera shots that add to it all. Palm Springs very nearly passed me by without question. The trailer didn't do much to entice me, and knowing that it was just another type of Groundhog Day movie, I'm a little bit tired of that, and I wasn't going to watch it. I ended up watching it just out of a go on then, let's give it a go, and I ended up being hugely surprised. I think the real charm to this movie is Andy Samberg's childish but lovable nature that he brings to most things. That and his chemistry with Kristen Milotti, I believe her name to be. Forgive me if I've said that wrong, but they were great together. They really actually felt like a real life couple. They felt really genuine throughout this film, and they were definitely what held this together. The characters are hugely flawed, and from where they start to where they finish, they've grown massively, which is a credit to the writing and the character development throughout the story. And despite their flaws, they're always fun. They're always engaging, excitable. You want to spend time with them, even though they would definitely drive you nuts at times. I know a lot of people would deem 1917 to be a 2019 movie, but I saw it 2020. It was actually the first thing I saw in cinema, which, believe it or not, I thought was a good omen. How wrong was I there? It's a little bit of repeating the obvious, but it's a breathtaking movie in the way that it's filmed. The idea of doing everything in one take, or at least trying to trick the audience to believe it's all in one take, it's really good. I don't know how well it's aged. The more you watch it, the more you realise there are elements missing, which is what actually brought it down the list as the year went on. It was straight in at number one the first time I saw it, and I was eager to see it again. And I did, and then I saw it a third time, and I got it on Blu-ray, and I watched it again. And with every viewing, I'm starting to think, they didn't explain that. This character's motivation is a bit weak. Is that the best way to do it? Could the story have been a bit better? But that doesn't take away from the fact that it is a visual masterpiece. They are the two words I would use to describe this film: visual masterpiece. Soul was the last film I saw this year, and it jumped straight in at the number two spot. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. The whole film is a really delicate balancing act of trying to cover a lot of bases and doing all of them justice. On the surface level, it's just another kids' movie, and to a degree it is. Bright, colourful, good silly jokes in their imagination. The kids will enjoy it, but I would be surprised if the parents didn't enjoy it more. They ask some really deep questions, and yet they still keep it light-hearted throughout. At no point are you going to suffer an existential crisis, but it does make you think about things. It makes you wonder if you're happy with your life, if you were to fall down dead in the next 10 minutes. Have you achieved everything that you wanted to achieve? Have you maybe held grudges that you shouldn't have? Have you been a little bit self-centered and when you should have looked at others around you? And this is all in a kids' film. Jamie Foxx and Tina Fey both completely disappear behind their animated counterparts. I saw Joe Gardner. I didn't see or hear Jamie Foxx. I saw Joe Gardner like he was a real person. He was that well fleshed out. And Tina Fey's character of the number 22, she's just hilarious. She comes out with one-liners that are strangely applicable to real life. My favourite was, "You can't crush a soul up here, that's what Earth's for." It was pretty close between my number one and number two, but His House was the best thing I saw in 2020. It tells the story of two African migrants who make their way over to England to start a fresh life. Only problem is, it's a horror movie, and things don't go that smoothly in horror movies. I thought the storytelling in the film was really impressive. I can't say there's anything I've seen that's like it. I could draw comparisons to The Exorcist, but then on other levels, it's nothing like The Exorcist. It's so uniquely its own thing, and I have nothing but huge respect for that. I don't think I've ever seen a horror movie that depicts racism and migration and the treatment of how we treat other people to be what is the horror. There are monsters, there are paranoias, there are jump scares, but it's not really about that. It's a sort of about the treatment of the people around us, and I thought that was really thought provoking and inspiring, that you can take something that's seriously real on an hourly occurrence, let alone a daily occurrence, and make it quite an effective, scary film. It's put the hairs on the back of my neck standing up a good couple of times. His House stuck with me. It really did. Longer than just a day or two after watching. I was still thinking about it a week or two later. It's really effective. It was inspiring in some of the aesthetic and the choices of the house and things like that. It's a really strong and powerful film. I would hugely recommend it, especially if you're a horror fan. If you're not a fan of horror, you can try and be brave and see it out. You'll be all right. You'll get through it. Maybe take a blanket with you. But if you're a real horror head, I think you're missing out on a real gem here. And that is my top 10 movies of 2020. A horrible year, and we're glad to put it behind us. I'm hoping to continue more content on this channel as the year progresses. You may have noticed behind me, we have a table full of mess, a grey wall, a green wall. It's all a little bit chaotic at the minute, but as time goes on, we'll hopefully have a better setup, a better microphone, a better camera, a little bit more of an idea of what we're doing. If you could subscribe and like or share the video and leave comments, word of mouth, it'd be hugely appreciated. And I hope to see you more as I release more content. But in the meantime, I hope you had a lovely Christmas and a happy New Year. Stay safe out there. The pandemic isn't over just yet. And I'll see you on the next video. Thanks.